Hi there guys, Lawrence here, back at you with another tutorial. So what we're going to do today is what I like to call a metal paint damaged. It's basically just a bit of metal, some paint over the top, basically peeling on the edges, a bit of scratches and all that in it. Nothing too hard. There's a few things like some bubbles or whatever peeling up. But yeah, pretty easy. We'll get right to it. So what we'll do, we'll go here, start off here with a base, so this will be the metal part, so make it a little bit grey, bring up the metallic quite a bit, it's probably a bit too grey, let's go there, and then drop down the roughness to 0.2-ish. So we got that. We'll add the thing that makes it look like galvanized metal. It doesn't show up when it's obviously covered in a whole bunch of paint, but the benefit of this is that it gives you the control to change it in the future so that you can actually see this. So what we'll do, we'll add a metal flake into it. I'll turn off, I'll have it so it only affects the colour and the metal. I'll then go in here and add a black mask. Add a fill in the grayscale. We will go here with the gradient flakes. Easy. So we got that there. We'll change this from normal to multiply, so it'll just make it darker color-wise wherever it's hitting. And then in the metal shader, we'll give it like 0.8. So it's still very metallic. It's just some areas are just slightly less metallic than others. Very easy. So on the gradient flakes, we'll go up here. Not 5, 4, 3. 3 looks fine. So it's just changing the size of it. Then we will go here, I'll add a filter and a blur slope. I absolutely love these guys. They're my be-all and end-all for making everything sort of look good. But you go here, we'll go to 100 and then we'll bring this up to... So 10 will be the same as 100, so we don't want to go that far. There we go. I reckon that looks pretty good. Looks like sort of army tactical colours, pretty cool. So the way the blur slope works is it just blurs along the slope. So what it does is it sees a material behind it. So you can put a custom noise or whatever in it, but the default's pretty good. It basically sees a noise and then blurs along the gradients or whatever of that noise that you're putting in. And it sort of gives this sort of faceted look to things. And I think it works out really well. For quite a lot of things, especially like things you want to look more natural. You don't want it to be nice, harsh lines because it's not very realistic. Like that looks fake, that looks pretty good. So now that we've got that, we're going to add some dents into it, or like waves in the metal. So what I'll call it here is dents because that makes life nice and easy. I'll add a black mask, add a fill, down here at the fill. We're going to add a creased, so that'll give it some creases. Go back here and I'll give it a little bit of height. I'll actually turn off everything so it's just affecting the height. Or if we crank it up so we can see it a little bit easier, that'll probably make life easier. There you go. Then what I'll do is I'll add a warp. Because right now it's very nice lines. That doesn't make sense. So we will add a warp into it. Change the source parameters to point. There we go, that's probably more like it. Let's do 0.5. There we go. Now we go from here. Change the height to 0.1. We don't need it that high. We just need a bit of subtle. Then now that I've got that, I'm just going to add a blur on top of it. Probably not that much. Maybe even just one. And that'll soften the edges even more. So it's very subtle. Just gives out a little bit of difference that you wouldn't have otherwise. Then next up on the list, so this is all of your base paint, or your base metal. We're going to add a paint layer in here. So let's go here, I'll group it, and I will call this paint. We will give it a hideous looking yellow colour because it's pretty easy to spot. Then we will add a wrong one. We'll add this fill. Call this one differing colour. Add a black mask. Add a fill. Let's do a... Doesn't really matter. We'll do a dirt. Here we go. Gives you a bit of colour. We'll bring the contrast up. And then add a filter. See what a blur slate looks like there. That's not too bad. There we go. So it just sort of smooths out the edges. We'll change a different colour from normal to divide. And we'll just bring the colour up slightly. And then that way, if you change the colour in here, like say you want to go for a orange or yellow or black or grey or blue or whatever, it sort of just matches along with it. Very easy. Awesome. So now that we've got that, the easiest way to make it wear is you put it all together in a group and call it wear. Then you add your black mask. We're going to add a generator. If you have the tools here, use them. You can create this all from scratch, but if it works well, why not? So we go in here, we've got our metal edge wear. Currently it's doing the opposite of what we want. So we're going to add an invert onto it. That's looking better. I will go down here and I will bring the height up slightly. Probably not that much. That's better. So that way it's got just a bit of height and you can see it sort of on the edge there. Then with the edge wear, we'll bring up the contrast quite a bit, because we want it to not look like it's sort of fading off of the edge. We want it to be nice and harsh. It's chipped off. Then we've got that. So nice and easy. We will add a fill. We'll change it to add. And then in here, we can add a black and white spots. Bring the contrast almost all the way up again. I don't bring it up all the way because it becomes just a little bit too harsh, but most of the way. And then you can bring up the balance, and then with that, you'll lower the amount of wear that's happening across the edge. So you bring it up, it looks nice and clean, and you can sort of control where the wear is. You know, make it a little bit more realistic, because that looks cool, but it's not very real to have it completely damaged around the whole thing. So we'll go here. I want it mostly there, but I still want some parts where it's still connected, where it hasn't worn off all the way. Very easy. I will then create an anchor point there, and then add a, because we'll be using this one later, I will then add a fill, and I will add a scratches. We'll add a grunt scratches there. It'll add your nice scratches in there. We'll bring the contrast all the way up. Probably not that bad. And there we go. So we've got some scratches in there. We're going to change it from normal to multiply, so that way it sort of adds an effect to it rather than just completely destroying it. And you can even go in here and bring it down slightly so it's not affecting it as much. So they're there, they still make their way through in some areas, but it's not as deep in others. Very easy. Probably bring it down just a bit more. Let's do 60. Yeah, looks pretty good. Nice and worn out. Awesome. So now that we have that, we will add, so for the peeling along the edges, so can't get rid of that. So on the edges here, you want it to sort of peel upwards, because your paint will come up and flick up sort of where the metal is, where it's peeling off. So there's boundless tutorials of doing this online, but I will show you how to do it here. So what we will do, we'll go here, we'll add a height, we'll change it to only affect the height and the norm, because we only want it to affect the height and the norm. We will add a black mask and a fill, then go from here, anchor points, and your wear mask. So if we go to the mask, I'm just changing the channels for C. We've now got the mask in there, so it's working pretty well. We will then add a bevel. What we will do is change it to 0.1. We want it to add. In this fill, we will invert it, so it's peeling away from it. Increase the smoothing slightly, not that much, have it there. There we go. Then we'll add another fill. In this fill, we'll add another anchor point of the wear mask. This will be changed to a multiply, and there you go. So the black parts on here will delete the edges there where the metal is. And then the mask, because it's sort of a gradient upwards, will bring the paint and lift it up off of it. So we've got that there. You might say, oh, there's no difference here. It's because we haven't added in any height. So we'll add height into it. You can go ridiculously crazy with it, but just go there. Nice and easy. And so it sort of just adds a peeled up look to it. What I will do, I will bring the distance down even further. And then I will probably add a blur slope. Change it to max. There you go. So adds just a bit of variance. Is it max I want or is it min? Not much of a difference, honestly. But there you go. So that's that there. You've now got a bit of a peeled up area on there. Very easy. What I will do, I will actually go back into this metal edgeware. The black and white spots are probably just a little too harsh, actually, for what I want. Let me see what else we can put in there. Let's do clouds 1. There we go. I think that looks a bit better. That looks much better. There we go. So now we've got a bit of... It's getting rid of all that noise that we had before, but we still have the paint and it's still peeling along the edges. It's still a bit chipped and all that. But you can start to see the sort of peeling up of the edges quite a bit more than what you could before. So that's without it. It's very flat. With it, it causes it to lift up along the edges. And you can always increase this or lower this down as much as you need. And we will add blur just to smooth it out slightly. There we go. So it'll just smooth out the actual path from there to there just a bit more, rather than being so harsh on the edges. Much nicer. And so because we've blurred it out a bit, I will bring up the height slightly. There you go. Much nicer. So you can see it really there on the corners, there and there. Very easy edge sort of wear look. So now that we've got that, we will add a dirt layer, which will be in the little crevices in there. So I'll go for let's just do that. Dark brown. Looks good. We only want it to affect the colour and the roughness. We'll bring up the roughness quite a bit. It looks pretty dirty to me. Actually, we'll have it affect the metallic because we don't want it to be dark where the metal is. We want it to be the same colour all the way around. If we want it darker, we will just make it darker. I will call this one dirt. We will then go here and we will add a black mask. We will add a generator. We will add a dirt generator. All pretty simple. So that'll add some stuff in here in the corners and all that. You know, just where a bit of dirt would be. But the important thing is going down here to the height, adding a wear mask, and then turning on the micro details for height. And there you go. So now, in the corners in there, you have some dirt. You can lower it down. So that way, it just adds that little bit of dirt in the corners to help blend the two together. Rather than having it, you see here, it's pretty bad in here where it's all like really shiny. Very simple. So now that we have that, we're going to add some bubble paint. So just a little bubbles every now and then wherever, you know, wherever we feel like it. So we'll go here, we'll call this one bubble paint. Makes life nice and easy. We only want this one to affect the height and the norm, because we only want to affect the, like, lift up the paint. Before we forget, I will add a little bit of height to this, so 0.1. Actually, you know what? Let's just crank it all the way up, so that way we can see it a little easier. So in the paint here, I'm going to add a fill. I'm going to add a, whoops, Wally noise that. Yeah, that'll work well. Why not? We'll use the 3D one. So the 3D one basically just generates in 3D space. So that way you don't have to worry about UVs or anything like that. So now that we've got that, we will increase the roundness. So without that, you'll get peaks at the top of each bubble. Increase the roundness up quite a bit. We will also increase the scale quite a bit. Oof, probably not that much. Perfect. And it looks like it's doing the opposite of what we want. So what we're going to do, rather than worrying about flipping it around, we'll see if -1 works. Actually, you know what? No, that was right before. Probably because it's just so ridiculous. There you go, that looks better. So it's a bit of bubble paint there. We're going to add a fill. Black and white spots. Multiply. There you go. So you got a bit of height on that. Wherever you need it, we will add a dirt. Change this to multiply. Increase the contrast. Play with it just a bit more. Make sure it's not affecting the roughness, it isn't. Very simple. So you've got a bit of bubbles and all that there. You can smooth this out. You can add a filter and so what a bevel will do will sort of make it look like it's flattened itself out. And then finally, we will add a warp. So if we go here to a warp, And what that'll do is so that's what it is before, and we can slide it up slightly to just give it a little bit of character. So it's like the paint bubbles are sort of like dipping on the high points. You know, something small. So that's with a warp. That's without. So it sort of just gets rid of the high points off of it. Makes it look all sort of more like it's a bit of peeling paint. And you can always change the size of this and all that and have it affect different things however you want. But very easy. Okie dokie. So now that we have that, that's all of our paint. Close all of that. We will then add a rust layer. I will go here actually, and then a rust fine. Drag it across. Ah, we destroyed it. We'll go technical parameters. Height range will increase at 0.2, so it just means that it'll change the height quite a bit more. It's a little hard to see because it's on the fine rust. It's not very rough the way it works, but it is there. Bring down the colour quite a bit, and then I will add a black mask generator and then a dirt generator. Then this will overpower the dirt from before in the paint layer, but it is there now. And there you go. Very easy. You can have it, if you want, you can have it affect in here a bit more too, or you would do is you might add a fill and add a linear dodge and add the wear mask, invert it, and there you go. Now you have rusted metal in here rather than having it on the outside. You can then also just bring it down a bit, bring it up a bit. If you have, this is the linear dodge, you can add a fill into there and have that multiply below it. Add something like a dirt. Bring the contrast up, and then that way it only affects in some areas or whatever you need. So now that we have that, we'll quickly export it into Redshift in Maya and get it rendering. So I've already been through this before in my last tutorial, so I'll just quickly run through it. There we go. So very quick and easy. We've got a very simple material here now. And you can always go through and you change it to whatever scene you've got. But you've got a very nice edge wear on everything. You've got nice scratches and all that. And you can always pull the scratches down. You can add more bubbles. You can change the colour entirely. You can do whatever you want. This is just a nice, easy default material. Pretty easy to work with. So that's it. Easy. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If there's any questions or anything, feel free to pop them down in the comments. Otherwise, have a good day. Have fun.